Good evening, everybody. It is Monday, December the 2nd, 2019, and this is your Mr. Video Game Live Super Show, Dead Sun Entertainment, brought to you by Dead Entertainment Son. I don't know anymore. I'm Slacker Kind. Pleasure to meet everybody out there today. Oh, and I didn't have time to write out jokes, so we'll just introduce the people coming along with us, because I'm not good on the fly. Anyway, first off with us, everyone loves him, it's Wonder Boy Kid Brian.
I might sound like I'm a little bit out of energy, but motherfuckers, I am so bummed we didn't get to do a show last week that I've got 2 weeks worth of energy bottled up inside me. And I'm ready to unleash all of it. I got to see my Wrestle Daddy this weekend. I am fucking fantastic. Let's knock this shit out of the park.
Oh, hold on a second. Wrestle Daddy?
Oh, yes. I finally got to see Effie live and in person at a wrestling show. And, beautiful to watch. It was a rad show. Like, it was really fun. Yesterday afternoon, Effie, MV Young, a whole bunch of other rad dudes. DOA Wrestling out here in Portland. 2 thumbs up.
Nice.
Always a good show.
And as always with us, it's Lindsay and Key Lady Marilyn.
Hello.
How are we doing today?
It's been a day, so I may or may not still have my customer service voice going.
That's okay. We'll slowly erode that. Let me start by saying this. I beat Death Stranding.
So did I.
Dude.
Okay.
Grats, boys.
So, a conversation needs to be had. Maybe not today, but a conversation. I'm adjusting my glasses. A conversation needs to be had.
I mean, I'll tell you this much. I played through all of it, and man, that ending, the bosses that you get near the end are all crap. Just absolute garbage.
Oh yeah, no, I basically just ran away from all the bosses except for the one that you cannot run away from.
Yeah, and
I was just done with it.
This is from Hideo Kojima, who has brought us some of the most memorable bosses of all time.
You're not wrong. I will say this much, though. You did get a full-on Kojima boss fight earlier in that game.
Oh, you definitely do. Yes, I absolutely agree.
Yeah, so I will fully excuse that part of the game because I got more than I wanted of a Kojima-style boss fight earlier in that game. Mainly because that game was not built for a Kojima boss fight.
Also true.
Yeah, but
I
don't know.
It's the best game that I've ever played that I would never recommend to a person. Which is weird. I can't recommend it because it's just such a odd fucking game.
My partner was watching me play it for a good chunk of the playthrough, and was not there to witness the ending. So, after explaining that I had beaten it, I had to try to explain the 2 hours of cutscenes, and failed miserably to the point where about 5 minutes into the conversation, my partner was just like, "No, I'm good. Like I think that you already lost me, and I'm not gonna try and find a foothold here. Like I'm just done with this. Like it's weird. It's a very weird thing. It's the weird thing that I thought it was the whole time."
I'm going to ask you a question. Hopefully this spoils nothing for nobody, but I think you'll understand what I'm asking. Were you confused at the Blue Beach? Like, what the hell you're doing?
Yes.
I had to look up what the fuck to do because I was just wandering around for like 30 minutes, and
I didn't look anything up, so I don't know if I had something specific I was supposed to do. I just ran.
Yeah, in various
Until
directions until the
Yeah.
right one happened.
Yeah, it was weird. I don't know. That game, like, let's put it this way. I don't know if I'm full on board where I think it's the best game. I wouldn't recommend to somebody because I don't think it's anywhere near Kojima's best game even.
No.
But I like it. I do like it. But I don't know, like it's just there's a lot to unpack from some of the messaging behind it, and then I was like trying to rethink some of the themes that it was expounding in the beginning, and like a lot of the talk around like the conversation this game is trying to have with society as a whole, and just really looking at it as like, did it really accomplish any of that? Was it detrimental to any of that in terms of how the story wrapped up? And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, my brother texts me for the first time in like months, just saying, "Hey, have you played this game, Death Stranding? I just picked this up, and I remember how we used to love the Metal Gear games and Kojima stuff, and this is weird." And I haven't responded to him yet because I just don't know what to say. I'm just like, "Yeah, Brandon, if you're listening, yes, it's weird as fuck, and it's only gonna get weirder. Enjoy the ride."
Yeah, I think that's an appropriate review of the game as a whole. I mean, it's good enough that I beat it, which I almost never beat a game anymore. I put the whole 50 some odd hours into it to finish. So, you know, clearly I enjoyed myself enough to do it. I even did all the fucking pizza missions. First off, I don't know if I should hug you or kill you, Sydney, but I definitely did, and it's worth it, but it's not worth it. I'll say that much.
We need to talk off air because I'm very curious because I thought that I did all the pizza missions too, but there might be something else that I missed. After listening to you, I don't know.
We'll talk after the video.
Yeah, we'll talk.
But hey, so a new device came out while we have been gone, and I'm just going to use Destiny 2 footage because it's the best thing that I have, because that's what I've been playing on it, because it was free. I've been fucking around with the Stadia the last 2 weeks, off and on. I have to say, like, people who have been complaining about latency and shit, I haven't really had any problems with it myself. A few times, like, it might drop an input in the middle of the game, but so far it's been fine as far as that goes, and it definitely looks way better than the potato of a computer that I can play on. Graphically, like, it has trouble with deep blacks. Whenever it's rendering out something that is supposed to, like, be fading to black, it's always a little pixel looking. Like, if you've ever seen a YouTube video before, you probably know what I mean. But overall, I actually kind of had a good time with the technology itself. The actual playing of the game is fine. Any problems that I had, honestly, were Destiny 2 related and not any way related to Stadia. Man, I don't know if it's me, but I find Destiny 2 really fucking convoluted. Not in gameplay, but in, like, what the fuck am I supposed to be doing at any time? So, go ahead. Brian, have you played Destiny 2 before?
Yes, I have played Destiny 2 before.
Okay, so is it just me, is, like, figuring out what you're supposed to be doing next? Like, I understand following the white dot on the map, but then it's like, hey, you need to go do this type of mission. What do you mean by that type of mission?
So, granted, I have not played a ton of Destiny 2, but yes, that was my experience as well. There was some confusion about, you know, what to do next in terms of, you know, missions or whatever. But that really is more so getting used to the environment and the hub world that they use in Destiny 2. You know, like it's very much a living like a living atmosphere where these, like, you know, timed public events and stuff show up, and it's rife with things to do. It's not necessarily the best at pointing you in the direction of a like a consecutive mission structure in a lot of ways, but that's really not the point of Destiny 2. I feel like, yes, it's there, but it's also not the main focus of it. It's more so just kind of like giving you like any given amount of things to do at one time, you know, and trying to figure out what you want to do, like whether you're playing by yourself or with friends, or like, you know, want to run different styles of missions, do repeat missions, you know, you want to fucking grind for light, like all that other stuff. Like, so yeah, I can understand the confusion there. I had a little bit of that myself before I just realized, oh, they're just giving me everything that I can do and figuring out what I should do.
But I can't even figure out what I can do. I'm just taking a look at a map full of dots, and I don't understand it, and there's no tutorial in it, so I'm just kind of sitting there staring at it like, I'm lost.
There should be some form of a tutorial in there. I remember there being something like that. Like, there wasn't a ton of it, but it was definitely in there. I don't know. Destiny 2 is a weird thing.
So,
you know, I would argue the dots are the things that you can go do, and you just kind of figure out what you want to do off of that, but it doesn't lay it out very well. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, Lens.
all good. So what I'm gathering of Destiny 2, because I actually haven't poked at it yet, is it's kind of like how your first experience with Warframe went. It gives you, this is how you do the thing in a mission at the beginning of the game, but beyond that, good fucking luck. Here's a wiki, have fun.
Yes, in a way, yes. I say Destiny 2's style is even more frustrating because I think, you know, we're talking about a company here in Bungie that has been pretty, like, they've been serviceable to, at the very least, in like developing story and characters and stuff like that. But we saw what happened with the first Destiny, where like a lot of that stuff was basically kept to the like flavor text in separate things from the game itself. And Destiny 2 did some work to correct that, but you still have a lot of that missing for the game. So if that's what you're coming to Destiny 2 looking for, yes, you're gonna have a harder time finding it.
I think it's not helpful that the pack that they give you has all the expansions, and the expansions seem to also happen at the same time as the main game.
I mean, they purposely did it that way, I think, that with this release, because they were releasing the leveler as well. So, like, basically, it's supposed to help you be able to play all of the expansions as soon as you boot it up. You know.
Yeah.
At least that was what I understood the selling point to be. I just basically chose a direction and ran off and shot shit, and figured out whatever I needed to do after that, and just like that. It's really an aimless game in a lot of ways.
Now, I have my phone out here on the stream, not to be like a piece of shit here and just, I want to check my Facebook while on the stream. Here is my biggest problem with Stadia. Most of the controlling of what you're doing is through the Stadia app. So you buy all of your games through this. You control what you're playing through this app. Like, I could choose to turn on Farming Simulator 19 right now if I so choose, and that'll be on my TV. Syncing the controller to it is also equally awkward. I'm so used to, like, the PlayStation, where I just hit the PlayStation button and it's automatically synced. There's a 4-button input sequence that you have to hit, and then you wait about 15 to 20 seconds, and then your controller is synced. And while your controller is syncing, you're just kind of sitting there waiting, like, did I do it right? Like, it's not starting. Is it supposed to be starting? And then all of a sudden it's there, and you're just like, fuck. What I'm saying is the user experience is going to be the part that I think is going to absolutely kill this. There's not a lot of fun in, like, choosing what game you're playing, how you're playing it. It feels clunky. Like, this is just a beta for the design and layout of everything.
A beta, you say?
Yeah, it feels like a beta. The technology is fucking great, but as a console, this sucks ass.
So it's just like we thought. They rushed like mad to get this out in time for all the holiday bullshit and shouldn't have.
Yeah, it feels like they were really hoping that how killer the technology is would push it. And if I play Destiny in my room, I definitely get drop frames without plugging in it. If I plug it in, it's fine. If I play wireless in the living room, like once every 5 to 10 minutes, I'll get some drop frames. It's not bad. So the technology's fine. Just the actual experience is awful. Which more makes me think that Xbox is going to eat their fucking breakfast when everything comes alive with Xbox. Whatever the Xbox Live thing is called.
Project xCloud.
That guy.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. We don't necessarily know how Microsoft is going to address these sort of things with their system, but, I think, the last episode that we had before we took our Thanksgiving break last week, like, a lot of the discussion about this was about how Stadia looked, felt, sounded, tasted like a beta. And, like, hearing more and more about your experience with it, it just confirms it, along with what I've read about it. Yes, it is one of the most obtuse interfaces to work with. Like some of the weird like messaging around like the tech necessities has been really frustrating as well. Like the fact that you have to update your Chromecast Ultra, you have to connect controllers through the app, you have to fucking like sync shit through the app. You want to play a game that uses a phone as a controller on your phone, you have to have a second phone. Like it's just these sort of like it's just all these little logistical things that deserved a much closer focus and more time to streamline. That you did not need to have these things be worked out in the wild like this. These are things that you could very easily have thrown to a QA team and have figured out and put out a much better product. Even if you wanted to put out a beta, you could have put out a better quality beta than this. That being said, the fact that the games run as well as they do on the system, like that is something to be commended. And I think that it proves that there is a place for this sort of tech to exist within the gaming market. It's just a matter of who's going to make it easy enough that consumers on a wide base are going to feel like it is a worthy investment. And like right now, like Stadia, they were out of the gate first, but they are making some bad headlines here and there, along with all of the good that their system is putting out.
It's funny that you mention how well the games play, and this really segues well into the first story that we have coming out of Eurogamer. Thank Wesley and Poole for this. So, Stadia had promised the 60 frames per second 4K treatment, but multiple games that have already launched on Stadia are launching not at full 4K and at 30 frames per second. The version of Destiny 2, for example, renders at 1080p and then is upscaled but it never actually reaches 4K. That seems to be similar across several other things, which sounds like the developers just kind of ported what they already had to Destiny and just kind of, or to Stadia, and just kind of went with it, despite the fact that Google says, oh, well, they can always patch in the background and you'll never notice anything, and eventually these games will play on 4K.
Okay, but eventually isn't what they promised. I want it now.
Now, obviously, that doesn't matter at all for me, who plays games wet on potatoes, which is, part of the appeal of this, to me, honestly, is, I don't have, 4K TV, so I don't have to worry about huge upscaling. I don't have to worry about, my laptop is all piece of shit, so I can stream, Destiny on this just fine without, at the high quality graphics, and it's great. But yeah, if you're looking for that 4K 60 FPS experience, you might not be getting it depending upon which game you're playing. I love the statement from Stadia. We expect that many developers can, and in most cases will, continue to improve their games on Stadia, and because Stadia lives in our data centers, developers are able to innovate quickly while delivering even better experiences directly to you without the need for game patches or downloads.
Wait, hold on 1 second. Let me find that quote again real quick. Stadia lives in our data centers. Developers are able to innovate quickly while delivering even better experience directly to you without the need for game patches or down. Son. What do you mean without the need for game patches or down? What do you think they're doing that on your end? It means just because we're not having to patch our stuff on our PlayStation does not mean that you don't have to patch shit. Every game patches, and they're patching on your hardware right now and just delivering that onto us. Like, don't sit here and say that you're saving the world, like giving the Ouya promise or whatever. What was it? The VGS, the fucking, what was that dumb thing that ended up being a fucking fraud?
The not Atari system.
Yeah, it was like the VGS or the VCS or something like that.
Yeah, VCS. That's it.
Yeah, either way, something whatever. That dumb thing where like you don't ever need to patch your games again. I'm like, no, that's the world we live in now. People aren't bitching because their games are having to be patched. They're bitching because games are releasing with the need to be patched massively before they're even playable at times. So this argument you're making amongst this other gobbledygook has no effect on what's going on here. Like, if you're putting out products that are not dishing out the resolution that you're saying they are, and you're trying to hide it behind upscaling through your streaming device, like, I'm sorry, that's really frustrating, and makes me feel like even more that this should not have been marketed the way it was upon release. Like, Founders Edition is a bullshit name.
Yeah, this definitely should have been labeled, Beta Edition rather than Founders Edition, because you're not founding any great thing with this. This is, like I said, it's great technology, but a piece of crap.
No, I wouldn't even go so far to say a piece of crap, because I mean 1080p is not 1080p streaming over the cloud. That's not a piece of crap. That's still something to be. I'd say that's something to be happy about in terms of resolution. Even go up to 1440 natively, that's fine by me. I can survive on that. It's the people that really wanted 4K because it's just what gets their nut off, and that's perfectly fine if it does. Like, everybody has their thing. Like, I'm not a big tech. I don't need a big tech display for me to feel good about what I'm looking at or playing. But I get it. A lot of people really like how Far Cry looks on their PC. Thumbs up. But at the end of the day, like, you don't as a company go out and charge $120 for people to basically try out your system, because one, you're doing yourself a disservice by obscuring your messaging by basically saying up to 4K and then not delivering on any of that bullshit, and just coming back and trying to wipe it away and smooth over the cracks with stuff that'll come down the line. But you're also just you're leaving a lot of sour tastes in people's mouths, because you're basically, your first messaging around your new product is, oh well, we fucked up and we're sorry. Like, you cannot come out of the gate with a we fucked up, we're sorry, we're making it better. You cannot come out of this with your first product and do an EA, we got this. We hear you. You can't do that. You're immediately going to sour the market on your stuff.
Not to mention, I mean, they're trying to say, this is built for gamers. Well, have people who are gamers actually working on your product, because this whole, we'll be able to do this without the need for game patches or downloads. Honestly, sounds like the tribunal that was happening with the whole Facebook thing. Listening to those judges try to understand what the cloud was. Like,
God.
this just screams of the highest tech thing I own is a fax machine, and you should be happy with what you get.
Well, I personally state that this product sucks not as much because of the technology, but because of the games that it has. The December gifts that they give you with your $10 a month subscription right now it's, bundled in with your, Stadia Pro edition. You get Farming Simulator 19 and the original not the original Tomb Raider, but the Tomb Raider Definitive Edition, the reboot of the original Tomb Raider. These are the quality games that you get for free.
One question.
Mm-hmm.
How much wheat you gonna grow?
I ain't growing no fucking wheat. I don't want to farm. I left Georgia for a reason. Jesus Christ.
Just because you left Georgia don't mean you still got a little bit left in you. Get it out by making this cotton. Get on. This is stupid. I mean, come on. Really? Okay, look, I know Farming Simulator has its audience. I know it does. I get that one. You want to make that one free? Fine. That's cool. For the love of God, why are you, touting that you have Tomb Raider? This is a game that I got for free on Xbox 360. Okay?
Not even the new one. It's, the one that's been out for years with slightly better graphics. Oh boy.
That's exactly what I was going to say. But it could be up to 4K.
Yes. Also, Kelvorid, yes, you could get into Farming Simulator esports, and I argue everyone should get into Farming Simulator esports. It's some thumbs up stuff.
My ex was addicted to Farming Simulator. So the amount of times I was in the middle of another game and got told, hey, come look at this awesome thing. And it'd be this little tractor just puttering around on the screen. And it's like, why am I watching this?
Some people are very proud of their tractors.
Oh, and in case that isn't bad enough, Stadia was touted as being the easiest place to play online with people. And then the numbers came out, and while this isn't for, Stadia itself, this kind of gives you a little idea of the problem. Destiny 2's cross-platform play, as of November 25th, PlayStation 4, 454,000. PC, 494,000. Xbox, 331,000. Stadia, 19,400 players.
Ooh.
Yeah, I've been getting told time and time again of people having trouble even finding groups to do matches at this point in the game because most of the people haven't really played far enough into the game to really do much crossplay.
Jesus.
Oh, wait. So you're telling me that in addition to Stadia not delivering on the graphical qualities, they couldn't introduce crossplay?
Oh, no, none of these. I will say Destiny 2 does not crossplay on any device. So.
But was there at least cross-save introduced? So that way, you don't have to start over on every single platform?
Yes, Destiny 2 does have cross-save, but you cannot cross-play. So you can move your PC character to your Xbox or what have you.
See, what that tells me is that they definitely are working on the infrastructure for that to happen. Crossplay, I mean.
Mm-hmm.
For crossplay to happen. I really think that is in the future for Destiny 2. If not, or they might be just using Destiny 2 as a foundation to kind of build up whatever it's going to be for, you know, whatever Destiny product comes next year, you know. But yeah, no, that number is very telling.
Yeah,
That number's, oh god.
considering Destiny 2 was your bundle-in free game that you get with the console, so the game that most people are going to play, 19,000 is a shit number.
It's a very shit number. It also makes me wonder how many Founders Editions they sold. Because the messaging around it was that it was a limited number.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering what that limited number was.
19,400.
Yes, everyone who bought it is only playing Destiny. That is the only game. You basically bought a Destiny box. You bought a Destiny box, Travis. It's not even a box. As the advertisement with Reggie Watt says, it's not even a box. You thump it off your desk. It's not a box. This is a controller and a phone and another phone if you want to play Just Dance. Stadia.
Okay, so
I'm never gonna let that one go. By the way, that was really dumb.
Oh, no.
That's just a really dumb thing.
I'm actually going to build on that because, Trav, with the saga you were explaining to me by, you know, you use your phone to launch, you use your phone to pair, you use your phone for this, you use your phone for that, and then Brian, you saying, hey, if you want to play a game on your phone, you need another phone. Is anybody else getting echoes of BlizzCon?
Yeah, I mean, it is the whole Google ecosystem, because before you can even get the Stadia app, right, you have to get Google Home and use Google Home to pair your Chromecast.
God
And then
damn
once
it.
Chromecast is paired, then it tells you to launch the Stadia app. So then you go into your Stadia app on setup and you pair your Chromecast with both your controller and your wireless router through the Stadia app before then you can choose the games that you want to get from the Stadia app. And by the way, the Stadia app doesn't tell you what games are free. You just kind of have to figure it out.
In the time that you took to explain that whole situation, I got up, turned on my PlayStation 4, and then turned it back off again.
I will give you, it's great not having to download shit. The load times are great. It is great technology. But god fucking damn.
They have to find a way to streamline this thing. They have to. God.
Well, that's just it. I think what they're trying to lead into is to incorporate your Stadia as part of your connected home, right? Because with the Google Home series, well, now it's the Google Nest, you can also integrate your Nest thermostat, your Ring doorbell, your Nest CO2 monitor. So what they're trying to do, as well as the Philips Hue lights. So I think what they're trying to do is so that way you can walk in the door, go, hey, do this, 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 and by the time you've gotten changed after being done from work, everything's all up and ready to go.
I mean, I definitely see that. And I think that having that integration is a very good tool for it. But at the end of the day, though, how many people actually have all of that stuff hooked up and connected all together? I know there are plenty of houses that do, but I would argue that the majority of people who are probably looking at Stadia as a viable product don't have all that connectivity set up. They might have a Google Nest, you know. They might have one of the new Google Minis that they came out with, you know. But like outside of that, like I just can't imagine everything being hooked up like that.
I fully admit I have one of the Google Nest Minis, formerly known as the Google Home Mini.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Although lately it's primarily been used as a timer for when I'm baking and I want to dig around on my computer as well. I mean, it's helpful. Like, it'll read you the news. You can set up a morning or evening routine. So you just say, hey, good morning. And it'll go, good morning. This is the weather. This is your commute. Here's the news. And I love it. I would love to have a fully connected home. I would love to have my computer like my gaming system's all connected into that as well. So that way, like, say I set a timer because I've got something in the oven, timer goes off, it automatically pauses my game for me. That would be awesome.
That would be awesome.
Is it there? No. Will it be? Maybe.
And see, here's the thing about that, though. Even that dream scenario, that isn't really a dream because it is possible at some point down the line we're moving that way. You need to have a viable platform to integrate into that system. And if they're putting out Stadia as not fully baked in the way that they have, like, it's just good. I think it's really just going to turn people off to even trying to integrate it into their Google Home setup, because it's just not delivering what it promised.
This is everything that you need to know about their idea of how they're marketing it right here. I'm pulling up their their Cyber Monday deal, whatever you want to call it at this point. They want you to buy your Nest Wi-Fi router along with the Stadia Premier. You know, your $350 Wi-Fi router.
Now, to be fair, you can get the router without the points, and it is a much cheaper thing at that point. You don't need the 2 points unless you have a giant house.
But in order to get this deal, you gotta get the Stadia Premier Edition along with it.
That's so stupid. Just buy the router and ditch the points. You don't need. Trust me, I wrote about this shit. You don't need it unless you have a large house.
Call me ignorant on this one. Can I not just use my normal router?
Yes, you can also just do that. You can also just do that. I have you have a Netgear, you got a Linksys. Guess what? You're in business.
You're fine.
I think I've got like one of the knockoffs. I think I've got like a TP Link.
You're fine.
Still works.
Yeah, but I mean, like, these are kind of cute and they look like marshmallows.
They are cute, and they do have some characteristics that are great if you want Google integration and that sort of thing. Like, if you have other Google Nest tools, like, they're great. But at the end of the day, you don't need to buy an $80 to $100 router from Google to run this stuff.
I would want to squish these things so much. So I would be going like $300 every other week because I'd probably forget that it's not squishy and try to squish it and snap it.
They are adorable.
Like I said, it's been a day.
Have we yelled about Stadia enough? Do we want to move on to our next story?
I mean, I don't know. I think that's unless there's something else outstanding regarding it.
I'm kind of having fun bashing on it, but I mean, we can move on for the sake of continuity.
Let me just close out with this real quick. I wish I didn't have as much negative to say about it, because I really was hoping that this would be something viable upon release, and I was really afraid that it was going to be what it is right now. And that's a real shame, because they had a chance to really nail down a market before xCloud comes to market. And I have a feeling that Stadia is not set up for that kind of fight.
No, I obviously I was the same. I bought the fucking thing, and I'm not sad about buying the thing, because, you know, I like having the Chromecast. It's very useful. The controller pairs with your PC, so I can still use this. It's a really fucking good controller, by the way. It feels great. It feels good in your hands. So, you know, $129 for a Chromecast and a really good controller, fine. I clearly don't have a 4K TV, so I didn't really need the Ultra Chromecast, but that's really about what you're paying for the $129. So I'm not sad that I bought it, and I may still buy Youngblood for it, just to have something unique to experience on it, just for the funsies, but...
Just wait for that Baldur's Gate 3. That hot console exclusive.
Yeah, that's a game you want to play on fucking console.
I don't know.
Speaking of games you want to play on fucking console,
Or games that we don't want to play on anything.
Yeah, that's my feeling to this. Shenmue 3 released with some meh scores.
From the critics, yeah. And honestly, the user score is pretty much what I expected, because fanboys.
It's still a fairly meh score from even the fanboys overall. I mean, basically, what every review of this game boils down to is, hey, you played Shenmue 1 and 2? You want the exact same thing, but learning no lessons in 2019? Here you go. And of course, it sold well to the fans, and they bought the shit out of it. But apparently, it's doing shit sales after the fact. The buys and digital downloads of it have been poor. Because everyone who fucking wanted Shenmue 3 bought it on the Kickstarter.
Yeah, I mean that's a definite thing. Oh Lord. I mean, look, I get why people wanted Shenmue 3.
Yeah.
I get it. There are people out there who love the first two. I would argue people love the first one more than the second one, but you still like there's still people out there, there's a market for something like this. But I can't imagine anyone thought this is going to light the video game world as a whole on fire, or even like a large swath of it. Like the people that wanted to play it, like you said, already got their copy likely through the Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I don't know how much of a lifespan it has beyond the people that were passionate about it enough to donate money to it, even though the game already had backing from Sony. Whenever that Kickstarter launched, I mean, this comes as no surprise for me personally. Like I think you can easily assume that I am on the outside of this of this sphere of the gaming circle, and I'm glad that they got their third game, and I hope that they're happy with it.
Yeah,
that's all I can say.
It's not begrudging to anybody who loves their Shenmue, and clearly there's a place for it, but this is a game that, like, each iteration of the game seems to have lost more money than the last. Why does this continue to exist other than people were willing to kickstart it, but even the Kickstarter money they raised wasn't enough to really move the needle on it? I'm confused. Because they still needed so much more money after that.
I mean, this really does speak to the niches within gaming fandom.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's the same way that, Katamari keeps getting made in a lot of ways. Like, granted, that's a series that I am much more favorable on than the Shenmue series, but, like...
Katamari is awesome.
Katamari is rad, but, you're not going to convince the regular Call of Duty multiplayer person that Katamari is something that they should spend their time on. It's just not going to happen. That's just how these things work. So that way, you have a smaller subsection of the audience to play to, and like it's a great novelty to speak to. Like, look back on probably one of a few games that the Dreamcast really put into the zeitgeist. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, like, it's nothing more than a novelty. The story that God, why am I forgetting his name right now? The director, the creator. Yes, Yu Suzuki, thank you. The story that Yu Suzuki wanted to tell with the Shenmue series, like, it's great in theory, but the way that he's always thought about executing it has never really been conducive to the video game sphere. Like, so much so that he's already had to compress so much into just Shenmue 2, So, like, I'm glad, like, once again, I'm glad that the people that are fans of this have their novelty thing do not expect it to sell gangbusters. I cannot expect that Sony thought it was going to sell gangbusters. I think Sony knew exactly what they were investing in and knew exactly what their return was going to be. And I mean, it's a benign annoyance in a lot of ways for me. I'm just like, I can look at it from afar and be like, yo, that thing's kind of crap, but it's not for me.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys enjoyed it, but like, you mentioned Katamari Damacy, and that's a good parallel, right? Because Katamari Damacy is also a niche game, but it sells for $20, and the game doesn't need a whole lot of sales to make its money back because it's just a small, cute little game. This is an open world game with complex mechanics.
I think the part of the reason why this third installment was done through Kickstarter was, I mean, quite frankly, with the small market that is really hardcore into this game could almost be counted as a passion project.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm thinking the whole Kickstarter reason behind it is to be able to give back to the fans to say, hey guys, look, you made this happen.
Yeah.
Be proud of yourselves. You helped make this game that you love.
And my last note on Shenmue 3 is Yu Suzuki has pledged to his fans that he will make Shenmue 4 via in-game letter. He will never give up on the ambition to finish the story. How many iterations do you need to finish this fucking game?
Well,
Why?
he says he would like to complete 11 story chapters across at least 5 games. So, yeah. 2 more, guys. 2 more. He says that he estimates that the story is less than 50% complete.
Of course he does.
This is where I see, and I'm so sorry, guys, because I know you love him. This is where I see Kojima going. He's gonna finally snap, and he's gonna go, guys, we have an epic, but it's gonna take 70 years for us to tell it. Eventually, we'll just be playing it with our brains. There'll be no actual physical input.
Here's the thing, though. Hideo Kojima makes games that are at least somewhat stimulating to the senses. Shenmue 3 has never, or Shenmue as a whole, to me personally, has never been more than just kind of a joke in a lot of ways.
It's a slow, methodical game that you really have to, I think, be in a certain mindset to be someone who will enjoy it. And the average person is not it. And boy, that's coming from a group of people who love some slow-ass, awkward fucking games.
So you're saying I'd have to be stoned off my face to play this?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
would argue that's not even a good way to play this game because you probably get bored out of your mind.
I don't know. I hyperfixate, so...
Okay, well, maybe in that case, maybe.
Kelferin, here's my take on Metal Gear and Metal Gear Solid and all that. And yeah, it's spanned over, what, like 30, 40 years worth of iterations. But a lot of that was not Kojima wanting to do Metal Gear. He kept trying to get the fuck away from Metal Gear, and then Konami be like, make us another Metal Gear. Okay, but I'm going to make it even fucking weirder. We don't care. It's a cash cow. Make us another Metal Gear. So he does. So it just kept iterating and iterating. Like, 3 was supposed to be at the end of it, and then Konami wanted a 4. So 4 was supposed to be the end of it. Well, now we need another.
And so 5, let's tell the story of a man's descent into madness. No, not the character, the developer.
Basically, yeah. Am I dropping frames? No, never mind. Anyway, let's talk about a game that actually has done well, like Pokemon. On the first week of sale, it has sold a combined 6 million games around the globe, making it the fastest-selling game to date. 1.36 million of those were sold in Japan. This game, I know people have said that this was not going to go well. I think I have lost my Discord, though. Hold on 1 second here for some technical difficulties. Hello?
Hey.
There we go.
Technical difficulties.
Anyway, yeah. We moved on to Pokemon, which has had the fastest selling title of all time.
And people are not happy.
Wait, why are people not happy?
There's just been so much bullshit involved with this. Like,
because Game Freak lied!
Okay,
yeah,
with the game lied. I thought you were talking about, like, in terms of like people being like, "Brr, we sold too many copies of this game." Damn it.
No, they want Game Freak to learn their lessons, that they have destroyed video gaming with their pop-ins and their bad trees.
Can everyone just not y'all? By everyone, oh, don't mean y'all. Can everyone just shut up? Just shut up and enjoy your game. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, I get it. Yes, texture pop-in can be annoying at times. Guess what? It's not the end of the world. You still get a Pokemon game on a legit console with the power of a legit console behind it. I know they had to purge some of the Pokedex. That sucks. I get it. There were some that I really like. Rest in peace, Bulbasaur. I'm really bummed that some of those didn't make the transition over. But guess what? At the end of the day, you still get a very good Pokemon game.
And I mean, like, it's like people are forgetting where this game came from. Like, do you guys not remember playing this on the Game Boy where it was literally pixels in black and white?
Pixels that would shake a little to show you that damage was happening. And hello, Sebastian Fox.
Exactly. It's just like, guys, it's Pokemon. It's 3D-ish. Be happy. It has color. Be happier. When I was a kid and I was playing Pokemon, going into caves sucked because no matter how much I tweaked the contrast on my sad little Game Boy Pocket, I couldn't see shit.
I feel you.
In my day, we couldn't even see our Pokemon.
And yes, Ranty Lins with the customer service voice is fucking hilarious, I know.
So look, yeah. At the end of the day, like, you can make your Pokemon big, the game looks good, the game plays even better than that, and all of those gym leaders can get it. All right?
Ain't wrong. Ain't right,
also,
but ain't wrong.
Also, exactly. I mean, nothing's right about anything that I say. But real quick, Kelvoran, I don't expect too much from the internet and gamers on the internet. I know what that community looks like. I just keep putting those expectations on them because I hope that they get better.
All right, while we're on the trail of good news, Valve has removed over 1,000 games. Thank you, Andy Chalk of PC Gamer, for this. Multiple publishers' catalogs have been entirely wiped from the store because they found a whole bunch of developers just making a shit game and just said, nah, they're all gone. All of them. Even your good games are gone.
The really funny thing about this is that a lot of the games are like 6 degrees of separation from each other. and it all comes back to like one Russian publisher. One.
Yeah, it seems to be mostly related around a single Russian publisher and several offshoots. So they kept trying to make games under different things, and they would be half-finished crap games. And the developer says our games are fine, but no, I'm very glad Steam has decided to remove these games. Now, if you bought them, sure, you can still download and play them all you want to, but you can never buy them again, and they're purged from the Steam Games Store. This isn't it's not a small number either. They have, like, what, 39,000 games or something on Steam? So, you know, getting rid of 1/40th of your entire catalog is pretty good.
I mean, this is one thing that, like, a lot of the Steam games I go for are, like, the free-to-play. And so seeing this makes me super happy because I cannot tell you how many times it's like, oh, this game looks kind of cool. And then you download it and you launch it and go, this is absolute shit. And so, like, yes, please clean up your catalog. Stop just, Stop letting the crap through.
You know, the worst thing that I've found myself doing lately is looking at the Epic Game Store and then going over to Steam and actually buying the game there. What's new and looks good? Oh, I can actually find things that look nice on Epic. And then I'll buy it on Steam because that's where all my shit actually is.
Legit, the only thing I'm using for Epic for is the free games every week.
Mm-hmm. And the Goose Game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Lord. I mean, this is unsurprising. It's actually kind of good to see Steam take some kind of preventative measure against a publisher that was just basically farming a bunch of different shit into games that were exploitative.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I'm cool with it. I'm glad that their tools are targeting the people it needs to be targeting. Granted, there were other companies other than just Dagestan Technology that were affected by this. I'd be curious to see if there were any other publishers that actually had a viable argument as to why their stuff shouldn't have been pulled in this culling. So,
While we were talking about Epic, kids, and I gotta say kids, because y'all want your dose of nostalgia.
Sure.
Free until the 6th, so this coming Friday, is Rayman Legends.
ooh.
I mean, if you want to talk nostalgia, Twitch Prime has Toe Jam and Earl for free for this month, so...
Ooh.
Yep!
So there you go. I actually like the new Toe Jam and Earl, so hey, there you go. Anyway, while we're talking about Valve, last week we talked a little about their announcement for Half-Life Alyx. And it's now actually... there's a trailer and everything for it, which I'll actually have to pull up on YouTube because I just remembered that Polygon doesn't like the fact that I'm blocking ads. Just on this browser! People don't need to see that. There you go. Let's pull that bad boy up, and while, clearly I can't do the sound, there is now a trailer out, so it's real stuff. And hi, Giant Pie, how's it going? Good to see you. It looks interesting, like, seeing the head crabs actually jump at your face was a nice touch for that intro. It looks pretty. I don't have a VR headset, and I'm not going to get one for this.
I'm torn on this because yes, this thing, it looks pretty damn good.
Mhm.
But also at the same time, while it looks really good, I there's just something about a new Half-Life game that sort of frustrates me, just knowing how the internet. That's a selfish thing, though. That's just a me thing where I don't want to deal with a lot of the conversation that's going to be around this, especially considering that it is only VR and it will likely never come to a non-VR platform. Um, they really want this to be the killer app for their headset.
Mhm.
And for what I understand, and I'm going to double check this real quick, I want to say that they've actually sold a good number of their headsets since this
Yeah, I remember the same
launched.
thing, really, that the headsets have sold a whole lot because of this announcement.
Yeah, here we go. Basically, the Valve Index VR headset sold out shortly after the Alex reveal.
Nice.
So yes, in that way they are moving headsets with this game. I think that a lot of the messaging around what this game wants to do, though, with that tool set and with like the interactivity that VR delivers, like it's a hefty ask.
Mm.
It is a this is probably like one of the most monumental undertakings for a VR game ever, and there's a this could go so far in either direction of good or bad. The trailer looks amazing. The trailer actually got me curious about trying it.
Mm.
But also like I'm tempering expectations just because I feel like I have to. It can't possibly be this good,
Yeah, and
right?
let's not forget the fact that in order to play this, you'll have to not only have the VR headset, but also a PC that's good enough to run graphics that good.
Very true.
As a resident VR nerd,
Mm.
um, I'm happy to see that they aren't making this the Valve exclusive. I'm happy to see that it's being released on the Vive, on the Oculus, and Windows Mixed Reality. I'm really happy to see that. Because if you told me, hey, we have this amazing game, but you got to buy an index, we already have a Vive.
Mm.
They're not cheap. So, no. There are some things that come with using VR as a medium that you don't get in like standard console or PC games. Like the one portion of the trailer where they have their hand on that console and then they lean across to shoot something on the same side that their hand is on the console with, you know? You don't get that. And so I'm stoked to see it. I'm curious to see what their price point is going to be. Because if they try to release this at the pricing of a standard AAA game, it's not going to be worth it.
Well, they did release the price point already. It's going to
Oh.
be a $59.99 release.
Nope.
It's going to be a regular. But here's the thing. Here's the caveat. The game is free for people who buy the Valve Index VR headset.
But again, you've already got a huge number of people that have the Vive, that have the Oculus, that have Windows Mixed Reality, that aren't going to want to drop another $700 on something that does the exact same thing that what they have already does. So $59.99 is way too overpriced for this game. I would never pay that for any VR experience, not until we get this down to visors that are no heavier than my glasses and haptic feedback gloves versus controllers.
I mean, and Kelvin actually makes a fairly good point. What really gets me waiting to see is Valve's track record at this point. Not just Artifact, but like over the last decade, anything they've been involved with has honestly been kind of meh. You had the Portal Bridges game, and that's about it as far as gaming since Portal 2 came out from them. And then Artifact was garbage.
Well, I mean, they found a way to boost Dota 2's awareness within the market while also making the game itself a bit less fun. So they at least they got that sweet Dota 2 money rolling in.
True.
But even then, that wasn't a game that they made themselves. So.
Nope. I mean, Portal technically wasn't a game they made themselves. They saw somebody else making a game like that and said, "Hey, we'll buy it from you and give you money to make it even bigger." And hell yeah, I want that money. Let's do it.
There is one other thing that worries me about their timing of this release, in addition to the fact that, like, their choice of medium, is how long has it been since Half-Life 2?
At least 15 years.
Okay. So those of us that played it at 15 are in our 30s now. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm out of shape. And 15 years ago, sure, I'd have been all over a first-person shooter that's heart-pounding and gonna make me move all over the place and stuff like that. And now, I don't know.
Well,
I mean,
in their defense, there are more couch VR games out there. So this may be one of those in that style of couch VR. You can sit in your chair and do the VR, and you're kind of moving yourself around the virtual space, and you can, dip and dodge in your chair and shit.
Maybe. Okay, so thank you, Giant Pie. Half-Life 2 was released on November 16th, 2004. So yeah, we are just over 15 years. But it's like, this is the same thing that one of my friends said when the Wii first dropped. Dude, I'm a gamer. I don't want to move.
The Wii was fine. People who were mad about waggling their Wiimotes, fuck off. Ugh.
Mind you, that same friend also managed to 5-star every single song in Just Dance without actually leaving the couch. So...
Lord. Oh, and by the way, the developer said they couldn't possibly make it for a mouse and keyboard. So, if you're hoping that this will eventually come without the caveat of VR, it's not happening. This is going to be a 30-hour VR game, so strap in, boys.
A 30-hour VR game. I mean, at best, you're going to survive in VR for about 2 hours at most. So it's going to take you 15 sessions to complete main game, and that doesn't count if there's any sidelines or anything like that. Like, that's excessive for VR.
It's not the first long game. There's Ashura's Wrath, I think was the name of it. Is a current VR game that's like a 50-hour RPG in VR.
Well, yeah, and like Arizona Sunshine is like, it's got a long ass campaign, but at the same time, it's done in short little chunks. Like, the longest a level is going to take you is a half hour. So I don't know how well this is going to lend on that.
Well, I mean, we don't necessarily know how they're going to structure the game just yet either. They might go that route of shorter chapters, but I mean, on the other side that they could definitely just kind of go all out with something like this. So
yeah, and Kelvin yet again makes a fair point. RE7 is a VR game that's like 20 hours worth of game. I've watched people play 6-7 hours worth of RE7 in VR and be fine. So, you know, this may be a different definition of what you're looking at when you're talking about how long a VR game can actually last. If they can make that work comfortably, cool. I know that I got real sick when I tried out like 10 minutes worth of VR. So, yeah.
For what it's worth, you did last about 45. But yeah, you had reality bleed afterwards really bad. And it's just because when you're in VR, if you've never played it, you get so used to the resolution and the graphics that are like right on your eyeballs while you're in VR that when you come out, the entire world just seems dull, flat, and kind of wrong. And it's super disorienting.
Oh, yeah. It really messed with my head when I was done. But, speaking of upcoming items, let's talk about rumors, shall we? The PS5 possibly has been leaked information on it. Now, obviously, a lot of information already is out. They had that interview with Wired that we've talked about previously. On the blog, they've talked about several things. They've put in the controller patent, and that's been confirmed by several developers. But they're now talking about a 2020 holiday season release with a sale amount of $4.99, which sounds fairly reasonable for the hardware they're talking.
That's so expensive.
That doesn't sound reasonable at all to me.
$4.99 for you guys, fine. That's going to be like a $700 system up here.
Honestly, $4.99 per. Sorry, I mean interrupt you there. Go ahead.
I could upgrade my PC for that.
$4.99 is about $100 more than they need to be charging for this thing.
I agree that the optimal price would be $3.99, but and Giant Pie said it as well. I was honestly expecting them to maybe even go higher. This is definitely going to be at a loss. If what they said in the Wired interview is true for the hardware that's going to be on display for the PS5, this is at a huge loss for them at $4.99. So it's not a horrible price for them to start at, and clearly there's you know, after what, 2 years, you're probably going to see that drop down to $3.99. So it's not a forever price, but that sounds like the right price to me, to be honest with you. It's not the preferable price. I would much rather have a $3.99 console. And on my end, that may make me delay my purchase. But their statement that a November 20th, 2020 release sounds plausible.
The release date is perfectly plausible, especially considering that they want to likely have that come out during the 25-year anniversary of PlayStation, you know. But I have to go back to the price point real quick, because what is the one lesson that we have learned over the past 30 to 35 years of consoles coming out in terms of pricing the console? Sorry.
Go ahead.
You don't make your money off of console sales. You make your money off of software sales.
Oh yeah, but this is still a huge loss for Sony on their end for the kit that they're putting out.
I get that. I get that. I really do. And like boo-hoo on that. They just bought a number of development houses that are going to put out a multitude of games that are going to get high remarks and high sales numbers for first party games. Like the past year, 2 years alone, they've continually set higher marks in terms of sales for their first party stuff. They're going to recoup what they need to recoup off of this. You know, it's just one of those things where I feel like this really feels like the PlayStation 3 all over again in some ways. I get that the system is more powerful and that the components within it do call for a higher price point, which is why I'm fine with a $400 price point, because I think that that's the real good spot of where you still keep something affordable while being able to deliver higher tier stuff into a box. Like it really irks me and it really scares me whenever I see them really wading into the same water that they did ahead of the PS3 launch.
Mhm.
So, I did some quick math and some quick currency conversion. So for you guys, it's going to be $4.99.
Mhm.
For me, that translates with today's exchange to $663.94. After tax, I'm looking at a $750 console. I paid $800 for my computer, and I can do a hell of a lot more with it.
I mean, also true. This, I never really recommend anybody buy into a console on its first release until it price drops. That's, I mean, what I basically always did until, like, actually, the Switch was the first console I've ever bought in my entire life on release. Granted, it was at a $3.99 price point, so, it was fairly nice on that end, but there's going to be a price drop on this after a few years, and as usually the release games for most consoles tend to kind of suck. I don't expect amazing things out of the bat for the PS5 myself, but I will be happily proven wrong. But this does leave the door wide open for if Xbox wants to walk in and say, hey, we're at $3.99. This would be another PS3 debacle all over again.
Yeah, and I mean, like, a lot of the games that they go, oh, this is going to be one of our release games, end up getting delayed hard. Like, look at God of War. That was supposed to be a release title for the PS4.
Mm-hmm.
It came out like a year and a half after release. I know. I had a pre-order for it that I canceled after the first year. Have I played it since? No. Have I bought it? Hell no. Am I going to? Nope. My PS4 is a Netflix machine.
I mean, it also... Microsoft is in a really, really solid place right now as well, because if the xCloud works the way they intend, you don't even fucking need a console. Like, a decent, like a fucking Chromecast PC would be able to play whatever game you could possibly want, if, that all works out the way they want it to. So they could attack on both ends, really. Hey, either jump in for free if your internet's great, but if it's not, $3.99 for the newest Xbox. By the way, while we're here, you may have seen this picture floating around of the PS5. This is a dev kit. This is made this way so that you can stack it up and all of the air will blow out from all of the dev kits. This is not the PS5. This is the PS5 dev kit. It sure do fucking look weird.
I really wish that was the PS5 though.
I mean,
That thing looks dope.
yeah, and when you spin it around, so if the back is facing you, it's a V, which in Roman numerals is a 5.
Mm-hmm. It looks like a high-end pizza warmer to me, and, I'm fine with that. You might also notice in the background, the PS4 dev kit is sitting right over here. So, yeah, the PS4 didn't look like that either.
No.
So there you go. This isn't the PS5. This is a fucking dev kit. This is your public service announcement. Also, Top Hat Kitty. Thank you, Drunk Cat. On the same train of money getting tossed around, good old company Beat Saber, best known for Beat Saber, has been acquired by Facebook.
I'm so pissed about this.
Please tell why.
It's such a good game, and Facebook's gonna kill it. It was literally the best $20 I had spent for the Vive. I spent so much time in this game, and it was so perfect.
They might not kill it. They've done good things for the Oculus so far. Clearly, they haven't really done much of it as being a Facebook property, but the Oculus is a fine product.
Fuck Facebook.
I do find it fucking weird that a company that does social media like Facebook is buying indie studios for their hardware. This doesn't seem like... It seems like a monopoly sort of situation where one company has too much money and buys a whole bunch of shit. But, anyway. Weird.
I mean, yes, they say that updates are going to continue across non-Oculus platforms, which is great. But how long before they start monetizing every little thing? Oh, hey, you've played more than an hour. Start paying us. Please, we need the money. The legal battles are too expensive. Pay us more.
I also remember this conversation with not necessarily you, but a whole lot of my nerd friends when Disney bought Marvel Studios and was like, Marvel's gonna ruin Disney. Disney's gonna ruin Marvel. This is gonna be the end. We'll never have another good movie about superheroes. And then they made the whole Disney Marvel Renaissance happen. So.
Okay, yeah, kudos. They did great for that, but then they took it all away because they moved it to Disney Plus, and I can't afford yet another subscription.
I don't mean to laugh at you, but I also do.
I said, Randy Lynn's customer voice is fucking hilarious.
I will say this much. Facebook has been at least somewhat reserved in exerting its control over the Oculus brand since purchasing it. And I know that they've really pushed them towards the wireless headset version of the tech more so than really improving on the Rift. But that's really the only kind of power play that they've made with that company so far. So while I understand the concern duly for the people that behind Beat Saber coming underneath the Facebook umbrella, I think that them working with Oculus to produce more quality games is not necessarily the worst thing in the world yet. I'm waiting until they give me a reason to be very, very angry at them.
Yeah.
In this one instance, there's so many other things about Facebook that we can get into that just make me want to burn it down and eat the rich. But in terms of this, I think Beat Saber is going to be okay for at least the medium term.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, okay, so if we want to get super meta on it, Beat Game Studio is based out of Prague. And Facebook is already under fire for the whole Russian connection and all of that other mess and election tampering. And I mean, I'm thinking the whole 6 degrees of separation might just be too much and poor Beat Studios is going to die.
Well, gosh, I hope not.
I really hope not either. I think that if this, if the, is it in the messaging? Do you think if they had come out and said that Oculus bought Beat Saber instead of Facebook, would we still be having this conversation? Even though
Yes.
I know we probably would, because we know that Oculus is owned by Facebook,
Mhm.
and a good crop of the community does. But in terms of like the headlines out there, would this have been as much of a like reaction, do you think?
I think so, just because also when you think VR, you don't think Oculus.
Really?
I mean, the only reason I knew about Oculus was because it was the first place that they released Star Trek Bridge Command.
Hmm.
But beyond that, I've had no interest in the Oculus, and the fact that there are so many games that are available for the Vive, and even for Windows mixed reality, that Oculus can't run. That it just eh. It's I'm loath to use the term, but it is the redheaded stepchild of the VR world. And so like there are not as many Oculus users as there are Vive users, even in like the professional space, like through streamers. The vast majority of people are using the Vive or the Vive Pro.
Fair. I don't really know a whole lot, honestly, of how the actual VR sphere functions. The only VR headset I've honestly ever looked at with any amount of seriousness was the PSVR kit for Resident Evil 7 and Tetris Purely. Uh, but we'll see. Maybe this is part of them trying to put some jump into the Oculus, sort of the same way that Steam is trying to put junk into their own systems by selling this brand new Half-Life game that you can get along with it.
I mean, that's clearly the plan here. Like they say so much in the messaging whenever they announce the acquisition, that like just the beginning of their plan to acquire companies that will help expand their VR market. So like it makes I would not be surprised if this was just the first of a few announcements like this to come over the next few months of studios that they are purchasing to try and make, if not Oculus exclusive games that run better on Oculus, and that you can market the new Oculus headsets around.
Mm.
Like it's a yeah. I think it's a good move for them. And it just remains to see if the marketplace actually can support this sort of thing. Like how much is there for them to grab, you know?
It will be interesting, and I will admit, like, Oculus is doing things because, like, they've got, I think it's the Oculus Quest
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah,
they're trying to bring out now.
That's the wireless headset. Yeah.
And for a game like Beat Saber, hells yeah, I'd be down for no wires because I can't tell you how many times I've swung my arm back and hooked myself.
Mm.
But at the same time, will it be able to function fast enough? Because they've actually, well, I found this article, I found another one that said that they actually had to break the limits and essentially the sanity meter that VR has in order to um, keep up with human movement, because people were moving so damn fast in this game that VR could not register it.
Mm.
Because you have people who, a huge audience that plays Beat Saber are the people that were competitive world champion Dance Dance Revolution players.
Mm.
Because it's very similar, it's just your arms instead of your legs.
Right.
And so as a result, they had no idea that people would be moving this fast. So I don't know if the Quest as a standalone will have the processing power to keep up with that.
I mean, that does play into the narrative of why there's been so much turnover at Oculus as well. Like, a lot of people left whenever a lot of the development focus was moved to the Quest because of what they saw as a product that will basically provide diminishing returns in terms of technical specs and the ability to render the kind of environments that you want to in VR that make it a worthwhile experience. So that's a very logical and sound concern that you have, especially if you already have headsets that are having trouble keeping up with the movement of players with the game.
Yeah, I'm actually going to toss into the general channel in our Discord one of the players that I've been following. He is a former competitive DDR player. And so he immediately jumped into Beat Saber on Expert, which, I mean, I'm good at Beat Saber. Expert hurts. I can't pass a level in Expert. The game is known for a ridiculous jump in difficulty, going from even hard to Expert. Like, you gotta be like, it is a perfect example of get good, son. So I'll toss that into the Discord later on. Have a watch. It's kind of epic.
Fair enough. All right, enough of that VR bullshit.
Just sweep that under the rug. All right.
Let's talk about the Stanley Parable. Now, I don't tend to play the trailers for things here, but I want to say that everyone needs to watch this video because it is the best video ever to delay a game that has ever existed in the history of mankind. But yes, that is the big news that comes from this video, if you have not seen it, that the Stanley Parable will be delayed into 2020 for the upcoming Ultra Deluxe Edition. I wish I could play it, but hey, I am not getting another copyright on a YouTube video again, so we're not going to do that today. This is just my public service announcement to all of you, that you should watch this video and enjoy it for what it is, one of the greatest things I've ever seen.
I'll have to check it out a little bit later.
The next real story, however, from PC Gamer. Riot has paid $10 million to settle their gender discrimination lawsuit. This is across all plaintiffs involved. So for all 1,000 women employed for the studio between November 2014 and now, it's been finalized, and they will be paying based upon seniority and the length of tenure within the company.
This kind of came out of nowhere today, I feel. That being said, though, like, I'm glad that there's some resolution on this. The one thing that always comes to mind whenever a settlement is announced is whether or not the defending party had to admit guilt. Because normally with settlements, you don't. Normally it's just here's money, and we'll just let this all go away and we won't say anything else about it. And while that's a worthwhile resolution in many ways, like, I think that having some form of admittance on the part of Riot would have done a whole lot of good as well. That being said, though, kudos to the women that are making Riot pay for their culture that they cultivated within that studio. Well documented across multiple reports from multiple outlets. I don't know, like, this I still doesn't feel like the end of this situation in a lot of ways, but it's a really good next chapter, I think.
I think this is a huge step forward. Um, the fact that they're saying it's going to be at least $10 million, it still does need to be settled by the court, um, is awesome. However, this is nothing to Riot. The very last line of this article um, definitely drives that home. A analyst firm called Superdata estimated that League of Legends alone pulled in $1.4 billion in 2018. 10 million is nothing to them. This needs to be a hell of a lot higher to make that impact.
No, I can definitely agree with that. That this is a drop for a multi-billion-dollar company. That Riot probably should have even paid more, considering the 1,000 women breaking up 10 million apiece. That's on average $1,000 per person. So some people may just not even get a whole lot out of the settlement. They may get a few $100 really from this.
And $1,000 for 5 years of harassment. Like, that's not worth it. That doesn't even cover your therapy bills.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean you're completely right there. I will say there was some good positive messaging coming out of it though, included in the settlement, where basically Riot has said that they're going to work to establish better channels for reporting harassment and discrimination, and they're gonna have this is all lip service. We have to wait and see if this stuff actually gets put into place, which I would hope that Riot would have learned their lesson. But let's also remember we're talking about a company that, after one of those big reports from Kotaku came out about the culture within the company, specifically did not fire one of the most one of the offending parties that committed some of the more egregious and juvenile violations within it. The dude who would fart on people in like board meetings was not fired.
Mm.
He was just basically suspended for 2 months, and I believe he might still be employed at the company. I'm not positive on that. So, but even then, like we're still talking about a company who was perfectly willing to hold on to some of its more problematic elements just to try and see if situations would blow over. So really, Riot can say all they want to in the text of the settlement. We'll have to watch what they do over the course of the next year. Like, are they really making those channels wider and more accessible to people within the company to report these sort of things? Are they making HR work for their employees and not just for the executives? Are they really taking a look at some of the more systemic problems within their corporate structure? Or are they just paying lip service to people and just begrudgingly talking about how things used to be so much better in the good old days before the women complained about us ball tapping each other and coming on to them in really lewd ways, you know?
They did hire a chief diversity officer in 2019 or in March. Her name is Angela Roseborough. And hopefully she's going to keep them to task, but it depends. I mean, what if they go, hey, we'll drop you an extra 6-figure bonus if you just keep your mouth shut?
So, Giant Pie brings interesting numbers into this. Full employees will get a minimum of $2,500, and temporary contractors will get at least $500. The court filing says most class members should get at least $5,000. So that $10 million is going to have to go up if we're talking approximately 1,000 women employed by the studio that will get payments out of this.
But even so, until it hits like super high six figures or even seven figures, Riot's not going to care. Like, this is a slap on the wrist for them.
Yeah, no, this is definitely a slap on the wrist, but it's better than it could have been.
It's a slap. It's a slap on the wrist, but it also, you have all of the eyes of the both the games media and the fan communities square on Riot now, watching for when these things happen again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no mystery about it anymore. There's no cat left in the bag. It's out, and it's going to be a lot easier to see whenever they try and pull stuff like this again.
And if things continue to suck, I wholly expect a Kotaku article to just spontaneously appear.
Yeah, out of the blue.
The thing is, though, like with Riot and League in particular, like I've tooled around in League and I left because it is so toxic. And you notice their player base didn't drop at all
Nah.
through all of this. If anything, it went up. They're definitely taking the everything is content and no news is good news, you know?
Yeah.
Kind of mentality to heart. And like, it's not going to hurt them unless they start losing players, they start losing income.
Like, I know my little sister plays League, and she is all about that game. I don't think most of the people really who play the game, from my understanding from her, even know this is going on. They have no idea and could probably care less. What's the new season look like?
And there's always going to be pockets of a community that are like that don't necessarily have not necessarily made the choice to educate themselves about these things.
Mm.
But that does not mean that a spotlight is not on that company now. The people that play League might not be paying attention, but the people that the people that work within this industry and the people that cover this industry and a good chunk of the people that play games know what is going on now, and they have something to watch out for now. So while the settlement is not what it should be, I am fully on board with that. Like, this will hopefully have a good effect in terms of going forward with how people look at Riot's inner workings.
Some actual further interesting information from Giant Pie. As of October, California Governor Gavin Newsom has signed a bill making it illegal for companies to require employees hired after January 1st, 2020 to sign arbitration agreements.
Yes.
So
That is a huge step. Very big, huge step. I will say this, though. I need to crack into some of the verbiage of that bill, because one way that companies can get around this sort of thing is if they put the onus of location on, say, like contractors that they hire that work remotely, that don't work in the California office. If you have a contractor in Oregon, per se, like, I have to look and see how the government defines this, but there's a potential that they could be able to put some kind of arbitration agreement into a clause into a contract for an independent contractor working outside of the state. I'm not sure. I mean, honestly, the way that it could also be that they're not, if they're not full-time employees, if they're hired as a contractor, that you could still put something like that in there. But at the end of the day, though, this is still a good thing, regardless of whether it has those caveats or not. It probably needs to go further if it doesn't have those caveats in it. But all in all, like, that's a really good step.
Fair, and I'd love to come back to this potentially next week, and if we have more data, it'd be cool to go over with a finer comb detail than what we're going over today.
Agreed.
All right, our last story here. There was a lot of talk back and forth on the internet, and Heather Alexandra over at Kotaku actually puts up a really great article on this in regards to Death Stranding, which won an awful lot of nominations. But it does look very improper from a certain lens that they got so many nominations, especially considering Jeff Keighley himself is in the game. The conversation, he states, is the reason why this is entirely done by a board of people outside of his own influence, without the people actually putting on the show having direct influence. And as well inviting the audience as well to have some say in how these awards are both chosen and how which person or company wins at the end of the day. Goes into a lot of interesting points on the article, but it does look kind of odd.
Yeah, it really does.
Considering Kojima himself is on the advisory board itself. So yeah, this is the Game Awards who chooses the people that get to choose. So even if the jury isn't the people on the board, the jury is still chosen, right, by the people on the board.
In some ways, yes. There's a voting process through there, so it's not just fully falling on the board. At the same time, though, like, yeah, it's not good optics necessarily to have that close of a relationship between a game that's received 9 nominations that I would argue didn't deserve all 9 of those nominations.
No.
You know, like, it's frustrating in some ways to see that. But on the other end, like, if people really felt like Death Stranding deserved to be in the Game of the Year conversation, like, that's fine. But I think that I don't think there was enough support for that to happen. Personally, I love the game. I would not have put it on the top 6 to be voted on for the Game of the Year. Personally.
Nah, I love Death Stranding. I beat the game, but it's not even my own personal top 5 as far as games go. And I thought a lot about it, and there's so much that I like about it, but there is so much that is not, like, yeah, the graphics and the sound design, I can absolutely see that, but the writing, really?
I brought you a metaphor. Enough said.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, that line. I laughed so hard at that when I heard it. And don't get me wrong, it's a great fucking game, but the number of awards it's been nominated for at the Game Awards just smells kind of funny, I guess.
I mean, it could be worse. They could have added a new category. The most Death Strandingness game ever.
There is literally a category that is the best Nintendo game. I shit you not. So, you know. They know where the bucket's fed.
It's just ridiculous. Like, some of these, yes, definitely. Like, game direction, totally throw that out there. You know. But, like, writing, no.
No.
Not at all. Like, I don't know. I like... I don't know. I don't know what else I can say about this right now other than, like, just waiting to see what happens. But, like, if you just look at the games that they have Death Stranding stacked up against in terms of narrative: A Plague Tale: Innocence, Control, Disco Elysium, The Outer Worlds. Outside Control, I don't know as much about the story there because I haven't played it yet. But the rest of them like have very like effective stories within them, and stories that and narratives that can really cut under players' skin in ways, you know, they can really invoke emotion. Death Stranding, it does that, but it does so with a blunt hammer. It is not a work of deftness.
You know, in Giant Pie, yeah, I might give it to more Mads Mikkelsen. Norman Reedus didn't exactly do a whole lot of hard acting in this, but might also give it to Troy Baker. I loved every fucking scene with that man in it. He is great.
Yeah, the only reason why anything anything narrative-wise should win from this game is because of Higgs and because of fucking Mads Mikkelsen's character. Like, those are the two performances. Like, him and Troy Baker, those are the two. Without a doubt.
To be fair, Norman Reedus doesn't really act in anything that he's in. It's always starring Norman Reedus as Norman Reedus.
Granted, I've never seen anything with Norman Reedus in it, so...
You saw Death Stranding.
Yeah, I've seen this now.
There's a reason why my partner kept looking up and being like, oh, so Daryl's carrying a bunch of shit again. Alright, cool.
And I mean, like, even in Boondock Saints, which was a stellar movie, the first one, not the second, it was Norman Reedus as Norman Reedus featuring an Irish accent. Like...
Wait, was he in the original Boondock Saints?
Yep.
Yes.
Shit!
Murphy.
Oh...
Him and Sean Patrick Flannery and Billy Connolly. And, of course, Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, I mean, of course you remember William Dafoe, but I actually, like, fuck. Okay, well, I'm going to have to go back to that movie now.
He was one of the main fucking characters!
I don't remember him being in it. Okay.
Which proves my point perfectly.
Yep.
Yeah, and yeah, Giant Pie also mentions that there will be a sequel to Death Stranding, but it's not a direct sequel, which, if you beat the game, makes a whole lot of sense, I guess, but also I don't know that I want it. I don't want another Porter game, but I also kind of do. I kind of want it, but I kind of don't want it. If that makes any sense.
Who knows? Who knows?
Anyway, that is our last story for the Mr. Video Game live super show. We've been live for 2 hours now, so you've gotten yourself a full double dose of news since we missed out last week. We'll be back next week, and more than likely, I would say to like 95%, we'll be back on Thursday the 12th as well to cover the Game Awards, and we may have a Lady Goggles herself joining us. So that will be exciting, but of course, we never end Mr. Video Games without awarding the Mr. Video Game Award. This award goes to the thing, place, person, people, whatever noun did the best, worst, most awesome, most terrible thing out there that you just looked at and went, that's video games. And the winner this week is the Vatican.
Oh, great.
Coming from PC Gamer, the Vatican has made its own Minecraft server. You can now join on minecraft.digitaljesuit.com and test it out yourself. It is a community intended for the less toxic. He put out a poll on the Twitter, Father Robert Belliser, asking what you would like amongst the games Minecraft, Rust Ark, and Team Fortress 2. And 64% of the vote came for Minecraft.
Cool. Let's build all these digital mountains in the name of Jesus. I don't know. Like this, honestly, this is kind of interesting, but also just like what?
The comments broke me. That's why I shared this. The comments broke me. The
Oh
very
God.
second one. Just yeah.
I can finally fulfill my dream of being banned from the Vatican without all the pesky travel cost and jail time.
Jesus.
Exactly.
Just made me so happy.
There will be no swearing on my Christian server!
When I found the article, I went, "Hey, Peter." He's like, "What?" I'm like, "Did you know the Vatican has a Minecraft server?" And he's like, "That sounds wait, what?" And he just kind of hung there for a second. I think I blue screened him. So yeah.
Yeah, this is both weird, but also somewhat wholesome, but also kind of it's got a whole bunch of emotions.
Yeah,
Right?
there's so much built into it. It's funny, but also heartwarming, but also kind of creepy, all at the same time.
Yeah.
Also, how
Yeah.
Team Fortress 2 even got brought into the possibility in this conversation.
Well, you bear in mind the good father, Robert Balliser. He's a former tech blogger. He's also host of The Week in Tech.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a nerd. He's a outright nerd.
Mm-hmm.
TF2 is a hell of a lot of fun to play.
10 years
Very
ago.
godly game, TF2. The most godly of games.
I wouldn't consider TF2 to be, in standing with the Christian spirit, considering you kind of shoot each other with guns, but...
God,
Oh, it's
guns,
just
and
another
glory.
crusade. You're fine.
We're from the South, Travis. You should know this by now.
That's fair. I should have thought about that. That's fair.
Fucking garbage ass.
Yeah, I mean, John Pye, you're right. God of War definitely had a lot of religious experiences built in there, so,
And if you want a game on the complete opposite end of the spectrum and go completely sacrilegious, you play Ancestors. Because it's all about the theory of evolution.
But there you go. That is your Mr. Video Game for the week of December 2nd, 2019.
Excuse me.
But as all good things, the story must eventually come to an end. I want to thank everybody who came by today. Giant Pie, Sebastian, Kelveren, and all the good people listening, and all of the other people who's, maybe will listen to this later on youtube.com/CBGB Games. Of course, we have a Discord where we talk about all of these articles before we do these shows, so you're welcome to come there and talk to us about it. We also make fun of weird political shit, bad takes in social media, and of course, Brian likes talking about his good wrestle boys and ladies and non-binaries.
Yeah.
Good wrestle people.
Good wrestle boys just sounds fun coming off the tip of my tongue, so I can't not say it. But then I have to continue the phrase. Anyway, I've been Slacker Kite. Thank you all for joining us. Lindsay, any final words for us this evening?
Be cool to each other. Be the change you want to see in the world. Love one another. For the love of God, if you're north, stay warm. If you're south, don't burn. Yes, Kelvord, I'm talking at you. Please do not die in a fire. Literally, his country's burning right now. I am around My streaming schedule has been crap lately. I'm sorry. Just keep an eye on Twitter. You can find me at lmerowin. And yeah, have a great night.
Brian, any final words for us this evening?
Just hope everybody had a good holiday, and hope everybody has a fun holiday season going forward. Super excited that eventually me and Travis are going to be in the same place here pretty soon, which will be pretty rad to finally, like, we haven't gotten a chance to meet up in person for a while, and that'll be fun. But outside of those more personal things, you can definitely follow my writing over at outsports.com and at pacemagazine.com, as well as any other place that you can find on my Twitter at WonderboyOTM. And of course, if you're into the Wrestle People, I do a queer wrestling podcast with Outsports every Thursday. It's called LGBT in the Ring. That drops every Thursday morning. We're coming up on 2 months of that show being live, and I have been enjoying every minute of it. And this week should be just more of the same.
All right. Yeah, I guess that really about does it for this week. Thanks, everybody. And again, make sure to follow us on the Discord. If you miss any episodes, that's youtube.com/CBGB Games, and you can catch up on your weekly news. We'll be back next week, the following week, unless Marilyn wants to cover it. I know I will not be available, but we'll see about the rest of the schedule, and I'm pretty sure on the 30th we'll be doing a year and decade in review.
Yeah. Ooh. This will be a fun listy time.
Mm-hmm. Where we get to yell and complain and all that about our favorite and worst games of the year and decade. That will be great.
Wait a minute. You mean you want me, the girl who can't remember what she did 3 days ago, to look into games that she played 10 years ago?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is going to be interesting.
All right. Good night, everybody, and have a pleasant tomorrow.
Bye.
Night.